Broadcasting from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, it's time for Executive Perspective. Executive Perspective is brought to you by Cressa, going beyond space to foster the best environment for every business. Now, here's your host, Danny Vander Maten.
Hello and welcome to Executive Perspective, a podcast series brought to you by Cressa, the world's largest commercial real estate firm dedicated to representing tenants. At Cressa, we understand the value of relationships, the power of connecting with others in the business world, and that's why we love this podcast series, where we get to sit down with executives and business leaders and listen to their challenges, insights, and unique perspectives. My name is Danny Vander Maten, Vice President of Tenant Advisory in the Atlanta office of Cressa, and I am the host of Executive Perspective. And today I'm very excited to welcome the Chief Executive Officer of CKS Packaging, John Sewell. John, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate the invite.
We appreciate you being here. So if you've never heard of CKS Packaging, simple explanation, Danny's watered down explanation is you guys make plastic containers. What more would you add to that?
CKS Packaging is a family-owned business started back in 1985 by my dad, Charles K. Sewell. That's where the CKS comes from. He actually got started back in the 60s, owned a company called Sewell Plastics, made the first dairy gallon in the Southeast, and then he sold his company in 1970, became president of Sewell Plastics, and he made the first 2-liter beverage container ever made in 1976. That's his claim to fame. In 1982, he left with a 3-year non-compete and started CKS Packaging up in 1985. And I joined in 1989. We had 7 machines at that point. Today, we have 27 manufacturing operations across the country, $750 million in sales. We're ranked 8th in North America as the largest rigid plastic packaging companies in North America. Excited to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. And that 2-liter container, that was for Coca-Cola, right?
That's correct. So we beat Pepsi to the punch, and they finally figured it out, but it was a race across the country to see how fast we could put manufacturing plants in. And I think we ended up with 25 all the way to California. And he grew that company to $300 million. As I said, we're proud to say we're $750 million, and we've got $1 billion as our goal.
Incredible. And the first milk jug gallon in the Southeast.
That's correct. Back in the middle 60s, the milk containers back in those days were in glass. For those that are old enough, remember having a silver crate out back of your home, and the milkman would actually come to your house and change out the milk bottles. Biggest problem with glass was you get in a production environment, it breaks. So therefore it could get in the product and then cause a problem. So plastic was the perfect solution then, and it's the perfect solution now.
Yeah, that milkman routine is something I've only seen in old movies. For my entire life, it's always been in the plastic container. I bought one at the store last night.
Yeah, we've always heard a lot about the milkman.
Yeah. What else are some of other claim to fames that CKS has? Because those two in and of themselves, and your background and your family's background, are extremely novel.
Back in 2000, I was promoted to president, and I went down to a Hollywood, Florida plant, and we were making a plastic container for an orange juice company out of PVC material, and that's pretty much been banned today. But a company called Eastman Chemical had come out with a resin that you could blow a plastic container, a clear glass-like container with a handle. And that was back in 1990. Today, we're the largest manufacturer of that material. We use over 20 million pounds a year. We make products for Coca-Cola still. The Minute Maid 89-ounce, Florida Natural 89-ounce. A lot of orange juice containers are made out of that material. The Chick-fil-A gallon for the lemonade and teas, and that was a big deal that we ventured out, did a joint venture with Eastman, and proved to be really successful, and still is today.
Amazing. You mentioned that CKS is a family business.
That's correct.
Pre-2000, early 2000s, before you became CEO, what was it like coming up in the family business? And with that, what I'm asking too is, what has it meant to your family to have this family business?
It's honestly, Danny, it's good and bad. Mm-hmm. Today we have 4 generations working. We've got about 15 family members in the business. But back in those days, it was just me and my dad and my 2 brothers, Drew and Scott, and they were both chief operating officers. Drew was in sales, Scott was in operations, and I was president at that time. And the challenges of working for Dad, he's a perfectionist. He's always wanted everything he's done, whether it be sports, business, whatever. He's very challenging, demanding. He told me that he never had to fire anybody, and I know why, because he is so tough. And I'm surprised that I've made it almost 40 years working for him. That's amazing. Yeah.
And that, like you said, it's good and it's bad. Can you elaborate more on that?
Sure. We've got each of my brothers, we have sons, and all 3 of us have had to fire them. Mm-hmm. And so that becomes a tough situation. If I'm going to fire your son, that becomes a challenge. So family dynamics in a family business, especially the size of ours, fortunately is big enough that we can all spread out and stay out of each other's way. But the family dynamic is big, and getting people to play by the rules and try to excel, get the education they need. Some don't want to go to college. Some do. Some get their MBAs. It's a challenge. If they don't come to work, what happens? We got a family policy. If you leave the company, you have to be gone for 2 years, and you have to learn how to work for somebody else, and you have to show us W-2s that you actually went to work for somebody for 2 years. And that's a tough one too. Very interesting.
Yeah, I would venture to say too, just based on conversations I've had with other family businesses, that not every family can do it. And it sounds like 4 generations from your dad to you and your brothers, and now to these next generations, it sounds like you guys have still managed to keep it in the family, which is impressive, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, the old saying goes that the first generation starts it, the second generation maintains it, the third generation sells it. Mm-hmm. So that's a challenge. And now we got the 4th generation coming on. My dad's 91, and hopefully nothing changes after he passes on, but it is a challenge, without a doubt.
I can imagine. So for you personally, in your career, was there ever a turning point before you became CEO or even since?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I was a senior in college. My wife got pregnant. We had our first child, Marie.
In college?
Yes. We had our first child, Marie, in October of 1981. I needed 24 hours to graduate. The only way to be able to do that, I had to go see the dean. And I told the dean, I said, look, here's the deal. I've got to get an education and graduate, or I got to get a job. By having a child, it completely changed my life. I was in the fast lane, going as hard as I possibly could, either at work or while I wasn't working. I was in the fast lane. When I had a child, I pulled over to the emergency lane, basically, and that changed my life. I got serious. I went to the dean. I said, I need 24 hours, which is 6 classes. Back in those days, it's semester, and typically people would take 15 hours or 18 hours at the max. So here I was asking for 24 hours in one semester. I needed 6 classes. I went day and night, made 4 A's, 2 B's. And in 1982, I was voted into the who's who of college students because of that situation. The dean let me graduate, and I was able to go get my first job. My dad had left Sewell Plastics, just a few months before that.
When you say left, in the history,
in 1982, this is back in 1982 when he had that 3-year non-compete. He left the business, so I needed a job. The only thing I knew was Sewell Plastics. So I had to go interview with people that worked for my dad at one time, and now they work for a big corporation. And I remember the guy hired me, but he wanted to he said, I'm going to pay you salary, and I'm going to pay you $18,000 a year. And I said, I got to have 18.5. And he said,
how did he respond?
He said, you mean you're not going to go to work for me for $500? And I said, that's right. I got to have that extra $500. He said, okay, go to work. Yeah. So that was a funny thing. But going back to CKS, we have Christian values. It's a Christian company, but my dad formed it that way. And we were going to do two things. We were going to tithe, and we're going to pray before every meeting. And I'm telling you right now, tithing that's a game changer. When you start tithing at least 10% of your profits on your company, God is going to bless you to the point. And the Bible talks about in Malachi, I don't want to get too religious here, he'll open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing you cannot contain. That's what he's done for CKS. So an interesting story. Years and years later, we had a prayer and fast. We do those occasionally, like once a quarter. This guy that normally comes, he missed it. So he shows up the next day. And we're back there having a meeting, and the receptionist calls back, says, hey, there's so-and-so's here to see your dad. So Dad goes, hey, Drew, go up there and find out what he wants. So he comes back to the meeting, and he says, he's got to talk to you. And we were all like, okay, we're having a major meeting, and this guy's got to talk to him. He came in the room. This guy's real mild and meek, about 6'4", real skinny, talks real softly. And he just looked at my dad, and he said, brother, you know what you need to do. And my dad prays. So this guy answered his prayer, and you know what he needed to do?
What's that?
Stop running on Sundays. Stop running our factories on Sunday.
That was a message to your dad? That was
a message to my dad, who had been praying about the business and et cetera. He said, stop running on Sunday. So we quit running on Sundays.
Wow.
But here's a better story. About 20 years later, I'm in a meeting, and we make products for Coca-Cola, Milo's Tea, Chick-fil-A, all these big-time companies that expect product when they ask for it. So we needed to run on Sunday for Coke. And I made a decision, and Drew was against it. I said, guys, we're going to run this Sunday. We don't have any other choice. We got to run on Sunday.
Sounds like a very tough call.
It was, but here's what happened. As soon as I walked out of that room, I got a phone call from my wife. She never calls me at work. And she goes, you're not going to believe this. And I said, what? She goes, I went downtown. I took a pair of shoes that I needed to repair, and it's raining, and I've never been to this cobbler shop. So I decided to take my shoes to this cobbler shop. And the guy goes, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Whose name did I put this under? And she said, Sewell. And he said, are you married to Drew? And she goes, no, I'm married to John. He said, let me tell you a story. He said, about 2 years ago, I had God tell me that I need to go give them a message that they don't need to run on Sunday.
Whoa.
He doesn't even know my wife. Whoa. She never calls me.
And
I just walked out of a meeting after saying, we're going to run this Sunday.
Wow.
And God said, no, you're not. And I got the message, and I will never doubt him again.
So you heard that twice in a span of 30 minutes, 20 minutes?
No, it was years.
Right.
It was years, but we had found, it was like, it might have been 10 years earlier or 15 or 5 years. But the point being is, she calls me at the office, never calls me.
That day.
She goes see a cobbler. She never takes her shoes to get them fixed to start with. It's raining. She's never been to this shop before, doesn't know this guy, walks in. He tells her this story. She calls me at the exact time I'm walking out of a meeting after going, we're going to run.
Right.
That's what we got to do. Now, if that ain't God, I don't know what is, man.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So what did you end up doing that Sunday?
We didn't run. And you know what happens? We needed to run for Coke. Another customer takes the same product, cancel 10 truckloads.
Huh.
They needed 10. We were covered.
Wow.
So he made a way.
It just took care of itself.
It took care, and it always does.
Yeah.
Every time we have because I'll have sales guys. Sales guys they go, man, we got to go. We got to go sell something.
Yeah, they don't stop staying on you for things.
They don't care about this Sunday thing, man. We got to take care of our customers. So they would come to me every so often and go, hey, man, we really got to run on Sunday. And I'd go, no way. He's going to make a way.
Mm.
We'll figure it out. And when that goes back to the tithing thing, open meetings with prayer, and don't run on Sunday. And that's caused our business to explode. In the last 5 years, we have doubled the size of our company. It's mind-boggling.
That is.
Danny, you just can't explain it. It's crazy.
God takes care.
Yeah.
And so, and relaying that back to that question about a turning point for you, like how he did for you in college.
Yeah.
Shoot, having a daughter, taking 24 hours, and you got voted into a who's who at Georgia Tech?
It's Southern Tech.
Or Southern Tech, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I wish it was Georgia Tech, but I wasn't smart enough. You know what I do now?
I'm not smart enough for Georgia Tech.
You know what I do now? I hire Georgia Tech guys.
That's
I wasn't
how
smart enough to go to the school, but I'm smart enough to hire them.
Yeah. It's funny how that all works out.
Yeah, it is. Learned a lot of lessons along the way, and Dad's been a tough teacher, and he just love him to death. He's a visionary. He's a trailblazer. But I've tried to pick up on some of that, and I've wanted to try to grow the company big, and he's always telling me, because he's retired now, I was like, slow down, kids, slow down. You're going too fast, slow down. And I go, you always told me if I was 20 years younger, I would be doing this and I would be doing that. And I said, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is. Can you share a memorable interaction that you've had with a customer? For example, in that story you just told, I just think about the relationships you have with Milo's and with Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I've got a good one. I've probably back in 1992, a guy walked into my office and he said, look, man, I need a truckload of gallons, industrial gallons. I got this product that I can sell to Home Depot and it's off the chart. And he said, nobody will give me any credit. Nobody will give me nothing. I need your help, man. And I said, done. He told me about his product. Mm-hmm. It turned out to be a product called Odoban. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
What is Odoban?
It's a cleaner.
Okay.
It's a cleaner, and it's a super product that is good. It's a big cleaner. So today he sells, because of that, he sells everybody. That product is nationwide, and every time I see him, he thanks me for giving him that truckload of bottles. We've sold him millions and millions of containers.
Mm-hmm.
And just because we took a chance on him, he never forgot it. And every time somebody will come along and try to lower their price and take our business, he would call me and he'd go, hey, John, look, you got a guy after your business. And I say, well, what we got to do, Steve?
Mm-hmm.
And he'd go, this is what you got to do. And I go, done. And I said, it's just like your business. Somebody comes along, tries to take your business.
Right. And
you need an advocate that'll go, hey, what can you do for me? And we always help him out. We become great friends. We go hunting together. It's just a great relationship.
Yeah, that says a lot about serving.
Oh, yeah.
And relationship building, which you just touched on the end of that.
Absolutely.
And
we believe in that. Another good story is we had 7 machines back in the early day, just me and my dad and his right-hand man. And he goes, we got to hire a salesman. And me and Bill Pace was the fellow's name that worked for my dad for 50 years. We each looked at each other. How are we going to afford this guy? We're only doing like $25,000 a month in sales. There's no way we can afford him. We had 7 machines at that time. Today, we've got over 400 machines, and I promise you, he's responsible for at least 200. He's responsible for half the business we got. He's 75 years old now and still is our number one salesman every year. It's mind-boggling. Guy's off the chart.
Dave Crompton.
Yep. Legend. There's only 3 people hanging on our wall in the Wall of Fame in our boardroom. My dad, him, and Bill Pace. And there's also a picture of Jesus that my nephew drew when he was 8 years old. So they're all framed on the wall. But he's on the Wall of Fame. And he's just an exceptional individual, friend, and just all around super salesperson. And relationships.
Mm-hmm.
He makes it happen. He's awesome.
Relationships and how important they are sound like a philosophy that CKS and your family hold very important and in very high regard.
That's right. We it's like our people. Our people are our greatest asset. Without them, we're nothing. Relationships with our employees. I have people tell us we'll do plant tours, and I know HR doesn't like this, but we hug our employees. And if we're doing a walkthrough, we're going to hug them. And HR goes nuts and goes, "You can't do that." And we go, "That's the family business. We're going to do it."
Why do they try to tell you can't do that?
It's because they're afraid somebody's going to get sued or somebody's going to complain. And that, why does that guy keep hugging me? Or whatever the reasons might be. But the customers pick up on that.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll come back to the board meeting after doing some tours and they'll go, "You know what we saw that the most, besides making plastic containers, was the relationship you guys have with your employees." And my dad harps on that. Our employees are our greatest asset, and that's what they are.
Yeah, that would be impressive. When you see that flow through an organization, I can absolutely see how your customers would value that. It's the human component, and it's the backbone and the heart of a business is how they do treat their employees. What achievement or milestone in your career are you most proud of? And this could be your career, John. It could be what CKS has accomplished. I'm
most proud of our people to start with, but we hit a goal. We hit $750 million in sales. And I look back and I go, a guy from Mableton, Georgia, and Austell, Georgia, my dad and myself and my brothers, and you just go, what? $750 million in sales? That's mind-boggling. That's probably one of our greatest achievements from a financial standpoint.
So it's looking back at where you came from and really just seeing how you've continued to grow this over 4 generations and being able to measure that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive. In your company and among your peers and your leadership, what makes a bad day at CKS? And conversely, what makes a good day a good day?
The answer is family.
They can make it bad.
Family makes it a bad day, or it makes it a good day.
I'm really picking up on what you're putting down in a family business here. It can be the best.
I'm just giving some people in the future something to think about.
Yeah,
you got to put some programs in place to help control the family, because it's where it's all fair, it's equal. But the bad day is when stuff happens with the family, and you got to have a family meeting. And the great days when there's no family issues, companies growing, and people are happy. That's what I like to see. I like to see happy people and be excited about where we're going, what we're doing, about their opportunity. We're a second chance company. And
second chance.
Yeah, we take non-sex offenders and non-violent individuals who have been incarcerated, and we give them a second chance. I don't know about you, Danny, but I've needed probably, I'm like a cat. I may be on my 7th or 8th second chance.
Yeah.
We give people a second chance, and today we've got about 3,500 employees, and we have roughly 10% of our workforce is second chance employees that some of them have risen to the ranks of being a plant manager.
Wow.
A lot of them are supervisors. A lot of them are quality control managers. So they really made something of themselves. I think we're all about 1 or 2 decisions away from making the wrong decision and ending up homeless or needing a second chance. Maybe we took some drugs when we shouldn't have, or we had a knee injury and we're taking Oxycontin and got hooked and finally got off of it, and somebody needs to give them a second chance, and that's CKS. We're a second chance company. So we're really proud of that situation, and my brother Drew helped head that up, and he runs we have our own ministry. It's called Maximum Impact Love. As I was telling you earlier, we give our employees up to $1,000 a year if they're in trouble, to help them pay their light bill or car payment or house payment or whatever it might be. We serve about 50 families a week with counseling. We give away food. We do 3 major events each year: back to school book bags, after school food program, and at Christmas we do 300 families. We invite their family. We give each family member 3 presents that are wrapped.
Wow.
Yeah, they can take home, put under their tree. We give away 300 bicycles, 1 to each family. We hand select the families within a 5-mile radius. We go into apartment complexes or low rent, poverty type areas, and it's pretty awesome to watch a kid's face light up.
I can imagine
when you help them out.
How do you find, or how do these individuals find you?
We go out into the neighborhood. We go out.
This is the neighborhood
around our plant, okay. Within a 5-mile radius. We'll go out, and every time we have an event, we'll pass out flyers that talk about the event that's coming up, and we'll play. We have a flatbed trailer that we've got a band. We put all the musical instruments on it. We've got DJs. We've got live music. We got churches that do skits. We cook hot dogs, hamburgers. We do haircuts, HIV checks, health checks, eye checks, cotton candy, fingernails for the kids. They'll make bracelets. We'll have fun games. Just it's a total day of having fun, and we feed them. And most of the time they get to take a box of food home with them or backpacks for all the kids in the family. So through that situation, we've gone out and we get buses from the neighboring churches, or if somebody works for us goes to a certain church, and we borrow their bus for the day, and we'll go pick them up. We'll tell them, hey, we're going to be in your neighborhood at 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll pick you up and we'll bring you back. So we have a bus system going. We got these flyers going. We actually had one individual, they knocked on the door, and the guy came to the door. He had just taken a shower, and he was all freshened up and all this kind of thing. And the next day, my brother saw him at the event, and he told my brother that he had just taken his last shower, had his last meal, and was fixing to commit suicide.
He told your brother that?
That's right. And he said because of that flyer, which was right across the street from the hotel he was staying in.
That's what spoke to him.
I got him, man. God got him and kept him from committing suicide, which is incredible.
How does that make you and your brother and your company feel to hear that or to know that?
I can't even explain it, man. I get emotional about it right now.
Yeah. Gosh, I could too. And I commend you so much because you call it a second chance. To hear you describe it and share that story, it sounds like more than a second chance. It sounds like the opportunity for a new life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That speaks so much. That's amazing. And you already answered the question that I had in the holster there, and that was there a particular story that moves you when you think of the success of the Second Chance program? And you shared one with us, but if you can think of another one, I'd love to hear it.
We got one individual who grew to be a plant manager. He was hooked on drugs, and he's been 5 years drug free. We got another young lady that's in our quality department. She had an alcohol problem. She was an alcoholic, and she went to rehab, got out, she's got 3 kids. She's got all her kids back. We got story after story. I was walking through one of the plants, and this big guy just came up and just put a bear hug on me. I didn't even know who he was. And I looked at him. He was crying. And he said, hey, man, I just want to tell you, thank you for a second chance. I went, wow. That kind of blew me away. I don't know if I can handle that in my work day. But you guys ask for it.
Yeah. You dial it up.
We do.
Gosh, when I think of your company and what you just shared right here, which a lot I didn't know about, John, I'm so thankful that you're able to. You guys are really good at making plastic containers, but you do so much more. And I say all this to lay the foundation for this next question, and that is if you weren't in this business and if you weren't part of this family that had this mission and this passion for what you guys do in conjunction with making plastic containers, what industry would you be involved with? Where would you have seen yourself?
I heard that this gentleman say, Art Williams used to say, he was A.O. Williams, so he had an insurance company, and I lost my spot, man.
Art Williams.
And
when you're thinking of just something else that you do, other than being a part of this giant heart that beats at CKS, what would you do career-wise, industry-wise?
I would probably, what I was going to say is that Art used to say, during your lifetime, you'll have 2 or 3 great opportunities. Mm. And the key is recognizing when that opportunity comes along. So I've had 2 or 3 key individuals that I've known that if I wasn't working for my dad, I would be successful. I'm not being arrogant or anything. I just know that I know that I would be successful doing something. And me and my brother and my dad, we all own, or my 2 brothers, we all own a spice company.
What kind of spice?
Yeah, just
all spices.
Yeah. Salt, pepper, onion, oregano, the whole gamut. And this thing has turned out. What happened is my brother was reading a plastic magazine, and he saw where this company was going to start a manufacturing plant down in Alabama. So he called a guy up and said, hey, don't start that. Have you started making any containers yet? And the guy goes, no. And he goes, well, don't do it. And I got to meet you. I got to talk to you. So Drew went down and met with him. They became immediate friends. This guy is Iranian Canadian. Mm. Okay.
A unique mix.
Crazy mix. Mm-hmm. He was a 1999 Entrepreneur of the Year in Canada. He's in the spice business. So he sold that business. He decides to start another business in the United States. And Drew went down and saw him, struck up a friendship. We invested in the company. And today the thing is off the chart. He's got a huge operation in Alabama, New Jersey, and in New York. So I know if I wasn't doing plastics, I'd be in the spice business. But I'm an entrepreneur too. I'd be in. I told the bank one time I'd like to own 100 businesses if I could, just because I love seeing things grow and make money. Mm-hmm. And then we take our tithing very seriously, so we could give in all these ministries. We give into probably 45 to 50 different ministries, and it's pretty incredible.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And if this has never been said before, Atlanta's lucky to have you guys for what you do. Wow. I hope you get told that as often as you should, because I get to, and on this show and in my business, I get to speak to a lot of leaders who do a lot of different things. And it's incredibly moving what you try to do to literally better and raise people around you selflessly.
Yeah.
And also with that last question, it sounds like you guys, are you interested in cooking? Do you like spending time in the kitchen? Do you and your family like?
My wife does.
Okay.
She's a great cook. I stay out of her
spices of all industries. That tells me, there's a hobby there.
I love food. Okay. And I like spicy food. And my wife is a great cook. She takes very good care of me. And we use iSpices, and we got a lot of friends that use the spices, but it's called iSpice.com. If anybody wants to go online and check them out, it's pretty cool what we're doing.
Awesome. So this is the last question, and I love asking it, and I really can't wait to hear your answer. Honestly, just given everything we just talked about, but I get it from a talk show that I was a fan of as a kid. They don't air it anymore, where they ask a series of questions, and then they get to this very last one, and this very last one's touchy because not everybody feels comfortable answering it. God and religion comes into play, but I like asking it on this show because we're not always looking for what's your religious affiliation, but it really is more of a measure of, what are you pursuing in this life? And the question goes like this. If heaven exists, what do you hope to hear God say at the pearly gates?
I want him to say, well done, good and faithful servant. That's what it says. Yeah. The Bible says that. Just well done, good and faithful servant. And my brother, he's more of a saint than I am because he's out there on the front lines every day running his ministry and running the CKS ministry and doing his job. And boy, he's blessed. Everywhere he goes to sell, he sells, man. The doors are open for him. But we've been blessed tremendously, and we're going to go ahead and we just came out with a new logo. We refreshed our brand.
I saw that.
You see that card that we've got where we got the fish at the top, and which means we put God first?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah.
I was speaking to the website.
Okay, well, you've seen the website. But
Yeah.
Here's the fish.
Oh, that's
top.
awesome.
Yeah, and then we've got on LinkedIn. If you can go to my LinkedIn and check it out, I've got a post there about the new logo and brand, and the fish at the top just means we put God first.
I will say, haven't seen your previous card, John. This does say just a lot about the integrity of your company, but holy cow, it is a refresh. That is just a world different than that first one I got from you. That first one I think I got from you, it could have been, I don't know, it could have been made in the 90s, but this is incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. We hired a lady by the name of Lisa Blacker. She's been incredible. She's handling our website, our refresh, our rebranding, and we're so happy to have her with us. And again, it's all about people. Mm-hmm. You're only as good as your people, and that's why we're great, is because we got great people. I will always want to give them credit for what they do for us every day.
Amen to that. As we wrap this up, John, if somebody were to listen to this and they would want to get in contact with you or anybody at CKS, where would you tell them to try to find you?
I'd say send me an email at johnsewell@ckspackaging.com. Go to LinkedIn, look me up, John Sewell, and that's probably the two easiest ways, and I'll direct you to wherever you need to go. If you're looking for a job, we're always hiring. We need people. Mm-hmm. We want to hire the best. We want to be the best. We want to hire the best, but we got opportunity, and that's what I tell. One of the most exciting things that I love about our company is the promoting from within. Just over and over and over. I'm talking about manager after man. You come in as a second shift packer, and now you're a regional manager. That's pretty opportunistic.
Yeah. Now that provides a tremendous platform for growth.
Oh, yes.
For people who are ready.
And and it doesn't matter what color, race, whatever you are. If you got the go get it, you can get promoted at CKS, and you can take care of your family. We've done that over and over again, and that's one of the most exciting things I'm most proud of, and proud of our people about the opportunities and them growing with the company.
John, I'm proud you came onto this show and shared everything that you did. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. And for everybody listening, we thank you also again for tuning into Executive Perspective. We will look to hear from you, or you will look to hear from us next time. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you for joining us on Executive Perspective. This show is brought to you by Cressa, the world's largest occupier-centric commercial real estate firm offering unbiased, conflict-free advice. For more information, go to cressa.com.